Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Way series. Today, we're going to be talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in drum corps and here at the Bluecoats with the members of our Diversity, Inclusion, and Advisory Council. Most of them were able to join us here live today, and we also have Rick Brown that is virtual. So we have Rick Brown, he's on our brass staff, David Davenport, one of our drum majors, Bryen Warfield on our brass staff and our board of directors. So if you guys want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for the Bluecoats and what you do in real life, then we can kind of talk about our work that we've been doing. Rick?
Hi everybody. Season's greetings. My name's Rick Brown. I am on the brass staff of Jen has already said. I teach the trumpet section in particular. When I'm not with the Bluecoats, that's actually when I'm not there now. I am a band director here in the state of Connecticut. I'm the associate director of bands at the University of Connecticut.
Bryen?
Hi, Bryen Warfield. I'm on the brass staff for work primarily with the tuba section and do a little bit with the baritones and euphoniums. In real life, I am the director of bands and orchestra at Homestead High School in Fort Wayne. It's about an hour north-ish from where our present location is at.
And I'm David. I am one of the drum majors for the Bluecoats, so I help with rehearsals and help run the drum corps. In terms of at-home stuff, I attend Christopher Newport University in Virginia, where I am studying music education.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. So, maybe each of you could talk a little bit about the work that we've done to get the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Council started, what was the reason for it, and why we decided to come together to work on that project, and then some of the, accomplishments we've made so far and the things that we still need to work on. So take it away.
About a year ago, when the death of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and countless other things were happening in our country, there's an initial conversation with Mike Scott and myself about starting some sort of a committee or a group that allowed us an opportunity to look internally in our organization in regard to diversity and inclusion. And this is very much a conversation that still is happening within our organization, also around the country. And there's obviously no better time to do some self-reflecting and really trying to sift through our home here at the Bluecoats and doing whatever it is possible to make sure that our environment here is completely and totally inclusive to every kind of human being that we have associated with our organization. So that was the initial part of the conversation. And David, Rick, Ebony, Justin Johnson, another member of the council, and Jen and Mike, we all sat down and honestly just had some pretty open conversations about our organization, about our individual experiences, regarding the Bluecoats or other drum corps that we may be a part of, and really just kind of put our heads together to see what we could do to improve the experience of the staff members, the members themselves, volunteers, admin, and everybody. So that was the beginning of it.
Rick, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think we recognized pretty early that we're not going to be able to solve racism in the country. That's not something we're going to be able to accomplish with this committee. But we put our heads together and say, okay, how can we make the Bluecoats as anti-racist as possible? Just the organization itself. How can we make it so that every single person feels included in what we do, but also, that not only extends to just people of color, but people of different sexual orientations, women, who are also underrepresented in the activity. So we just wanted to try to solve some of those issues, and we decided that we were going to take a very systematic approach to what we did. We came up with some bullet points of things that we thought we could immediately do, and then we set future goals. How can these things lead to more change in the future? That process has been painstaking, from developing just an overall action plan for the organization to training our membership and things of that nature. I'm sure David can speak on that, just being a member of the Corps. But overall, we, Bryen and I, Dave, Mike, all us March Drum Corps. So this is not for us. This is for people that are coming behind us. So we wanted to try to lead the Bluecoats better than we received it. And so ultimately it's been a great process working with Jen and Mike on this, and they've been very supportive of everything we've done. And hopefully moving forward into the future, we can really accomplish more of these goals that we set for ourselves.
So maybe David, you'd like to speak a little bit about some of the ways you've seen some of the work of the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Council come through in our work with the drum corps itself, since you're one of our members this year.
Yeah, so for one, excuse me, for just the way our audition process happened in the following year for the 2021 season, a lot of members could see that Bluecoats were putting they were taking the first step in just creating this change that we wanted to see in DCI, and that it turned a lot of faces and shown a lot of people that this is an organization that cares, and so it brought in a lot of more diverse people. Like if you even just look at the membership now, we could always do better, but it's pretty diverse, especially like just our percussion section. Like that's the most diverse section we've ever had at Bluecoats, and it's really inspiring to see that people that look different can see like, oh, just because of how the Bluecoats perform, like we don't wear hats and stuff. We could see you see all the members, you see the diversity that we have, and that's super inspiring. And it also, this year we have at least I know one specific member. It's breaking some stigmas. We have one specific member who marches at a show style marching band, and there's this stigma that I've heard that just because people don't pull from show style marching bands because the transition might be tough or rough. That member, he's one of the he's an amazing performer. Like staff have come up to me and have been like, who is this who is this guy? And it's like it's showing that not just like people who just grow up through core style can only do this specific activity. We can reach out to more HBCU schools and colleges and music places to just see and bring in more people to show the more diversity that we can pull from.
That's a great point. Maybe Rick would speak a little about that, because I know the project we've been working on and continue to want to expand on with the HBCU performers.
Yeah, it means a lot, especially to me, Jim, being, I'm a graduate of an HBCU, a 2-time graduate of HBCU myself. Shout out Norfolk State. And then also, I was fortunate enough to also teach at an HBCU for 5 years. And when I originally got on staff here in 2014, working with Jen and Dave at the time, we established the HBCU band scholarship for the Bluecoats. And we were fortunate that year, our trumpet soloist from that year, his name's Travis Higgins. He was one of my former students from Prairie View A&M. He was a recipient of that scholarship that year, and he turned out to be a soloist. He was a great Bluecoat. So, the Bluecoats have always been interested in that development of relationships with, alternative ensembles that may not necessarily do what we do at Bluecoats. And the student that you're speaking of, another one of my former students from Prairie View A&M, those students understand the importance of a well-rounded music education, but also being exposed to different things that they may not be comfortable with. I think a lot of the issues that we face in DCI with recruitment at HBCUs is the fact that students just don't either know about the activity because there's not enough outreach to those programs, or they don't feel like they can do it. And I think that's what the beauty of a year like this is that we're, in a non-competitive year, we can reset and say, okay, how can I use this as an opportunity to get more people involved in the activity? And that's given us the opportunity to really train some of the students that may have not done what we've done in the past up to be able to do it at a high level. And then building partnerships and things of that nature with some of these schools so we can say, okay, we want your students in our programs. How can we make that work? And, the Bluecoats have really been at the forefront with that, as well as a couple of other drum corps in the activity that are really, putting their money where their mouth is.
Well, I thought it was neat. I saw Mirandy, which is the student that we were talking about, wearing his PVAMU hat at rehearsal. I was like, well, I hope that makes it into our media because that'd be cool for people to see, like, hey, I went there or to an HBCU. Maybe it's something I'd be interested in. So I think that was kind of neat. So good.
I guess to that point, the idea of access and representation is something that is incredibly important. And within the larger activity, the elephant in the room is access, financial access, access to shows, access to audition camps and things like that. As an activity, that's how we grow. And I know that here within the Bluecoats, going all the way back to 2014, but even now, the idea of making the access a lot easier for any sort of student who wants to be a part of our organization is key. Because if they are a part of our organization, there's representation that goes out. I've shared a story on a few different occasions. I remember seeing Rick as a performer with the cadets. And that was my first opportunity, seeing somebody that looked like me at the top of the activity. And so that was an inspirational thing for me. I know Rick has had a situation like that. I'm sure David's had a situation like that. Even stepping outside of ethnicity, I'm sure there are a lot of young girls who've seen older girls as drum majors or soloists or anything like that. Percussionists, it absolutely percussion too. So, we want to do whatever it takes to make sure that the representation is out there so that our activity continues to grow and doesn't just become the same stock vanilla ice cream thing that goes out every summer. So,
well, I think it was an interesting point you made there about the access. We've had the HBCU scholarship available for several years, but this year we've kind of been working on expanding the pathways to access, not just at the point of like your quote unquote tour fees, but actually trying to reach out to specific bands and see if they have people who are interested in auditioning, providing audition scholarships, and then allowing people to, follow all the way through with that financial, component, and not just financial, but, access as far as like just location or, just knowing about the camp, knowing about the opportunity. I think that's actually something that's the pandemic has helped with in a way because of our transition. All of our camps and auditions this year were 100% online. And it wasn't the greatest, obviously, but in some ways it was a good experience because it did allow us. You can obviously audition from anywhere in the entire world online without having to travel, without having to do anything like that. So that allowed us to kind of think about a new pathway for people that I think that will probably continue, at least in some regard, when we come to our next audition season. And I think that's something that we can really use. So I thought that was a good, a good segue.
On top of that too, Jen, even some of the commitments, the organization has made from community involvement, of inviting students throughout the Canton area to participate in Bluecoat events, or what we're doing with the School of the Arts. As an organization, the Bluecoats has really just made a huge investment. When we David talked about it briefly with the, access to the marching style. What Justin is working on with the program that we're working with the School of the Arts, where, a student will be able to come in and say, okay, I've never done this. Well, let me, look at this video that Justin Johnson put in the School of the Arts, and then I can learn what I need to know to be able to do it. I think it's going to not only help, the organization, but it's going to help grow the brand of the Bluecoats moving forward when it comes to access, like Bryen was just saying. So, there's organizational wide investment that, the organization has made that, I think everybody should check out, because I think you'd be really pleased with it.
I think, building on that, even beyond our own brand and the Bluecoats, a part of our sort of mission statement, if you will, for the Diversity Inclusion Advisory Council is not just to work on, improvement within the Bluecoats, but also to extend that outreach within DCI or the marching arts activity in general, and to set an example and put place positive pressure on the entire activity, to grow in this regard. So I was wondering if we could talk a little about our efforts that way and what kind of our goals are. It's very interesting to me because I work with DCI on the DEI committee in STEP as the chairperson of that, and that's something that we're working on as well. But I always I want to be able to always look to the Bluecoats, to set that example. And that is one of our stated goals, right? So,
yeah, I know we had did the January annual meeting, and I know that you and Mike and myself had spent time talking to the entire leadership within the activity, and that was for me. I'd never been a part of that at all, but to see light bulbs go off virtually,
Yes.
on that call. But to be able to have an open dialogue with a lot of different groups that maybe probably didn't even consider it or are at the beginning stages of that process. And even I know, David, you and I had we had a phone call with a couple of the leadership with I think it was Phantom Regiment earlier about a lot of the same sort of things. So there was initial spark within certain parts of the activity, but within that, it just starts to spread like a very slow wildfire, in a way. So,
Well, something I have noticed in my work with DCI is that, when it initially started InStep, it was to do with women and expanding access and opportunities for women. And that was, its own challenge. But as soon as we started talking about race is when people started to get really uncomfortable, and so I think it's even more important for the Bluecoats and other organizations that are like-minded to really continue to push the envelope and keep this type of conversation at the forefront so that we can, push everybody to move forward on the things that they're really uncomfortable to talk about,
No, it's been super effective even at the membership level, especially when Bluecoats first came out with a lot of the statements and like the plans that we were going to take. A lot of just members from not only like the Bluecoats organizations, but we were able to, as DCI drum majors, we met pretty consistently during the time COVID happened and we were virtual. And we were able to have those tough discussions just so we learned as being the leaders of these drum corps how we could approach these conversations within our own organizations. And it was nice having Bluecoats to like go back to, because we were able to talk about some of the things Blue was doing and how it could how it could impact their own organizations, or ways that they could have at least the conversations that they need to, and take the tools that at least we talked about in our council to be able to use for their organizations and show improvement, even if it's not as like, even if they're not moving as fast as they want it to, it's still the idea of them being able to plant the seeds in their organizations to help create change, at least start somewhere. And it's been just super impactful having Bluecoats just being in the forefront of that and being able to just lead in that way so other people can get behind it.
Well, I think that's that's great to hear, and it's a great point because I think in some ways, obviously we are a drum corps, but we're an educational organization, and part of our job is to, help our students learn about this type of, not just music, all kinds of things that help them be a better adult or a better person. But also, I think it's important to think about, and I'm sure you guys as band directors, have this too. In a lot of ways, we're meeting the demands and needs of what the students want now, which is really important too.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. When I'm not old, but when I was in high school, the needs of a lot of my classmates at the time, they really weren't too centered around social issues. But now I graduated in 2006. In 2021, the students and what they need and what they see is completely different. Students are changing. How they see the world is changing. Social media has changed. Technology has changed. There's all kinds of things that are in students' lives now. And so, I think all of us as instructors or admin, whatever, within these organizations, that the educational aspect beyond just hitting your dot, playing the right notes, performing a certain way, what we do goes way beyond that, because as a student comes through our organization and they age out, they gain so much more outside of just the performing side of things. So.
I think that's a great way of putting it, because some of the resistance, this very specific resistance to some of the things that we've been working on here at Bluecoats or within InStep is like, well, we're not a social justice organization, we're here to teach music, that's not what this is about. And I just think that couldn't be farther from the truth. That couldn't be more wrong. It's like saying the only thing going to college is about is literally learning what's in that specific class. And I think we all know that's not the case. We are trying to, it's about learning about living, and it's about learning about being a better person, and it's about learning about different people that you might not have grown up with. And I think that is absolutely a hugely important part of our educational process, whether it be here at the Bluecoats or at a school or whatever. I mean, so I think that hopefully we can work to very specifically refute that criticism of this type of effort,
No, I love that, because one thing that even the leadership this year for Bluecoats, we we're approaching a new a season that's really unique in terms of we have
It's
a lot
weird.
of new members, and so yes, we're here to perform and create a show, but there's something that we also like to teach our members, and that's how to be a blue coat. And that is, just as Jen said, it's more than just playing your instrument, knowing your dots, knowing your music. There's off the field, like there's this idea that a blue coat is more than just what you see on the field, and it's more than just us being a drum corps. There's this bigger idea around it, and being able to teach those values and want us to be the best blue coats we can be. That's like something I think about when you said that, because it's just like, yes, the instructors are here to teach us how to be good musicians, but they're also here to teach us how to be a better person, how to be the best you. Because here at Bluecoats, we're big on individuality and how to bring out the best you, and that goes beyond just the musicality side of things. And it's very important that people understand that this organization is more than just musicians. It's just beautiful. I don't know.
Well, I like what you said about the costuming and the helmets, or, the change, away from that and toward, you know, being able to see everyone's face, being able to see everyone and kind of see who they are. And while that was a change, from the uniform look, in a lot of ways, it's been really neat, and it really allows us to highlight the individuality of people. I don't know, Bryen remembers this from when he was a member. That was the opposite of the case before. The whole idea was to cover up everyone's individuality, whether it be, racial and ethnic diversity or gender diversity, whatever. The idea would have been like, you have the uniform on, we don't even know if you're a girl or a boy or what, nothing. So, I think that's been really interesting. And we've been talking a lot about race because obviously, like in our country, that's the hot primary issue that we're facing right now, but there's a lot of other aspects to DEI, and I think you can, I think being able to see the faces of all of our members, can kind of contribute to how we think about that. We have people in the blue coats of obviously various racial and ethnic backgrounds, different countries, a lot of students from Japan this year. We have transgender students. We have students who identify as non-binary, different sexual orientations, men and women, et cetera. So I think that, being able to see all that is what really hopefully allows individuals watching, little kids, like Bryen said, to say, hey, I can do that,
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know if anyone else had anything to add about our experience here. Maybe something about, obviously we've done a lot and we're working on things, but there's never going to be an end to the work that we can do. So maybe what some of our next steps, for 2022 and the future even beyond that, I think would be something we could talk about and end with here.
Yeah, I know. In what was it, February? I think we had released a social and economic annual report, impact report, and that was our way of basically kind of opening the doors within our organization to the world to see. Here's what our organization is made up of. Here's where all of our students come from, and what areas we need to work on in order to be more inclusive and more diverse. I know that's one aspect, and that's something we're going to continually do every single year. I know that we are going to put together a series of instructional videos for students that may not come from a core style background, or quite honestly, they may come from a core style background, but there's another access point to our activity through these videos that will be able to help students be more prepared coming into our audition camps,
or anybody's audition camps.
Yeah,
really,
exactly. Yeah, very true, very true. Anybody's educational experience. I know that's an aspect of what we're going to do. Looking ahead down the road, I know that there are certain events that we have that we may try to go to. And Rick, you could probably speak a little bit more about this, but some of the larger HBCU events that happen throughout the country, I know that's an aspect that we want to take ourselves there and not do the opposite that most people do and ask for people to come to us. So, yeah, Rick.
I think in addition to the work that we're doing with the Bluecoats, DCI has also made a commitment, like Jen stated earlier, through the work with InStep. InStep now not only encompasses, action for women, but also diversity and inclusion has been under that umbrella. It's a big umbrella, but and I'm sure Jen can talk about that one. But just I guess I look at it as a first step. If I'm thinking about the future, I would see a bigger investment, in separate resources for each, thing under that huge umbrella. Um, Also, the work we're doing with our marching counts, and the having not only performers of DCI be from a diverse background, but also leadership, whether that be core directors, caption heads, just board members, whatever that may look like for your particular organization. Just getting more people from diverse backgrounds involved that way. Like Bryan said earlier, it's a big thing when you actually see representation of yourself in these organizations. So that'd be a big thing, and that can be something as simple as just instituting a hiring thing that says, hey, you have to interview people instead of just hiring the guys that you know about. Like actually go out and find some people, or give people an opportunity to prove that they can do this at a high level. So I think DCI and the Bluecoats are on the right track. But like David said earlier, we're not perfect. We never said we would be perfect. We want to be, but at the end of the day, this work is difficult. It's difficult for everybody, for having those tough conversations. That's difficult for both sides because you have an emotional side that says, okay, this makes me examine myself, but also it makes me say, okay, maybe I was racist in the past, or maybe I was, a person that practiced microaggressions or something like that. Like you never know. So as DCI continues to grow, its membership like overseas and stuff like that, there's been a huge investment there. We hope moving forward into the future that they, make a even bigger domestic investment in the activity.
Yeah, I think those are some really great points. Two things out of that I think we can really focus on moving forward, both at the Bluecoats level and at the DCI level. It's like investing resources, and that means money and time into professionalizing some of this work. Right now, it's like volunteer committees of people. Especially in SEP at the DCI level. With people that don't even work for DCI or even a drum corps in some cases. Working on this. Hopefully in the future we'll have the resources and money available and willing to commit to actually, hiring people to be coordinators and workers in this area and working on it at a professional level. I think that would really, help us move along in that regard. And then I also think that, the hiring stuff that Rick talked about, something we're working on here at the Bluecoats, making it so that you have an open hiring policy. It's like all of our jobs are available to apply to online, but but also reaching out intentionally to make sure that open positions are promoted, not just amongst people you already know. Like you said, this is a huge, long tradition in drum corps. Everyone knows that. I'm sure we're not the only industry, but it's not quite as professional as working at a school. People hire people they know, and people they know or marched with tend to look just like them. That's just the way it is. It's not necessarily on purpose, but we have to take that intentionality toward, that like the unintentional racist or genderist action that we're perpetrating and perpetuating by, just hiring people we know and intentionally rooted out by posting our positions and actively recruiting for our positions in other areas of people that we don't already know or work with. So I think that's something we have, a ways to go on with implementing those hiring policies as a policy, but then also working intentionally to put our positions out there to people that we might not know or be familiar with, or might not be old drum corps hacks. So I think at the Bluecoats level and the DCI level or all corps, that's something that we can keep working on, for sure. So part of the, just to be honest, like with the Bluecoats, we don't have that many positions come open all the time. So that impedes us from, becoming more diverse as a staff in some ways. So I think, we got to continue to look for opportunities to, reach out, and encourage that type of diversity, racial diversity, also gender diversity in our leadership roles in particular, which have a very low turnover rate, So one thing we did do that's a part of that I think has been a success is recruiting for new board members and an open format, and actually posting. Like normally when we get board members, it's just like anybody know somebody that would be a board member, And this time we posted for it. We got applications online, and Bryen was one of those applicants, and he was elected to the board of directors. So that was a sort of a success of that program, even though he was someone we already knew, but still. Yeah.
Well, the other gentleman that was brought on the board, I forget his name, but his primary background is
Dan Coleman, right?
Yeah, Dan. His primary background is in professional orchestra. He works with the San Francisco Orchestra. So that's at a whole completely different world.
Great
that
point.
we can bring to our organization that can help just provide a completely different outlook on whatever it is that we talk about in our board meetings throughout the year. So that's the great thing about diversity, is that there's a huge variety of backgrounds that we can bring around to solve an issue or work through a problem or create something that's really cool, whatever it may be. There's just more to it behind the scenes that makes whatever it is that we're doing that much more special.
Well, I think that's a great point, that the diversity of ideas that different people from different backgrounds bring can be a huge, regardless of doing all of these things because they're right to do, it also can be a huge benefit to your organization to have that diversity of ideas. You don't know what you're going to come up with, and help you in your success as a brand or an organization until you reach out to those, new people. I think we do have a great opportunity, especially at the DCI level or some drum corps like that. There's quite a bit of impending turnover at the highest levels of DCI and within drum corps. There's a great opportunity there to, kind of see what we can do to reach out and find some new voices.
Last thing I would say, guys, come out and see the Bluecoats this summer. We've been working hard. The students have been working their butts off, especially with a shortened spring training. We would have an opportunity during the summer to make changes and do all that. We don't have that time. You're going to get the show when you see us this summer. So come out and support the drum corps. If if you're interested in the things we're talking about, say hi. We'll be on the road. Support the Bluecoats this summer. Come buy a shirt and come see Lucy. And then also just the different social media handles we have. Come check out, in more detail the things that we've been talking about, and we'll just love to have you guys get involved with what we're doing. But yeah.
Yeah. Going off what Rick said, I highly recommend just even looking up videos of like the Bluecoats and seeing what this organization is about, but also coming out to audition camps too, for the members who want to march or thinking about marching or thinking, I don't know if I can do this, taking that first step into just diving into the Bluecoats world, just so even if it's like not the outcome you want, you still learn so much at our camps. You learn the bare minimums you need to be super successful in the future, and it's a big thing just taking that first step for a lot of people, and it'll just make you grow, and it could take you to places that you didn't think it would take you to places you didn't think you could go, in terms of your abilities and just the people you're meeting. It's just a wonderful experience that almost every member has, even if it's like I said, not the outcome you want, but a lot of times it is too, and it's just a fun time.
For me, and I'm speaking directly to specifically the band directors, but if you're a leader of an organization, regardless if it's music or not, have the hard conversations and don't be afraid of it. That's the beautiful thing about really what's happened over the past year. And it's not like what is going on in our country started in 2020. This is stuff that's been going on for years and decades. So there are things that we see regarding ethnicity, gender, identity within our country that we really do need to look at. I know that I'm doing that even within my organization. The staff members that I have working with my ensemble this upcoming year is extremely diverse as far as who they are, how they identify. So have those hard conversations. And there's a quote, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, but it's something that my parents always used to say to me, is that great things happen on the other side of hard. So if you have those hard conversations, there are great things that can come after those conversations come up. You'll see a transformation within your organization, and more importantly, you see a transformation within yourself. I mean, we're not perfect, and there are things even within myself over the last year that I've really had to step back and take a look at as far as how I feel towards certain ideas or topics or things or whatever it may be. And I've had to even personally make changes in my own life regarding the relationships that I have with people, who it is that I talk to, or whatever it may be. So that is the key. Have the conversations. Don't shy away from it. Be completely open. If there is somebody that you talk to, or a group of people that you talk to that don't feel the same way that you do, that don't see the way the things that you do. I know that you've had that in a lot of conversations with other folks within the activity, that might feel completely different or whatever it may be the case. We still have to have those conversations because you know where those people stand, and then you can slowly, start to change some hearts and minds.
And even from the student side of that, the people who don't have the voice or feel uncomfortable having that voice to speak up, that those conversations will really make them feel more at ease, and it'll give them more of a voice to be able to speak up on that type of thing, especially if you're if you help initiate that. Students are smart, and they really do appreciate when I've seen a lot of directors who've taken the time to just have those conversations, and a lot of people who usually they're specifically like referring to feel way more comfortable, and it just makes your group in particular just a safer space for your students.
Well, I want to thank all of you for coming out today and talking about our work here at Bluecoats with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I look forward to continuing to work and get better and grow both as an organization and me, myself, everything that we worked on together. So thanks a lot, and get back out there to rehearsal, everybody.
Bye-bye.